Well, hello, With Gratitude Matt listeners. My name is Matt Moran, and I'm the host for the With Gratitude Matt show. Our goal with the show is to inspire our listeners to practice gratitude, regardless of how powerful their storm is. I have learned that often, when in our most difficult periods of time, the practice of gratitude can be most rewarding. Gratitude is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger you will get. Today's guest is Kate McKay. Kate is a high-performance coach, master motivator, and international best-selling author. She even has her own podcast show where she is helping individuals claim their inner warrior. She will help you let go of negative self-talk and the feelings of frustration, unworthiness, and inadequacy as she helps you cut through the noise. Kate's most recent book, Claim Your Inner Badass and Claim Your Inner Warrior, can be found on her website, www.katemckay.com. Kate, welcome to today's show.
Matt, thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here.
Oh my gosh, so great to connect with you. I've been following you on Instagram. That's how we ultimately got connected, and you just are doing some amazing work. And you have Motivational Mondays, which I love. Maybe share with our listener. Actually, before we jump there, Kate, just out of curiosity, how did you find the coaching profession that you're doing some remarkable work with today? And like, how did that like come about?
That's a great question. And I think that I always was a coach. And the reason why I say that is because like I was the classic ADHD kid, never fit in. I was always felt like, I didn't belong. I was more interested in talking to people and having conversations. And so I was getting yelled at, just like all the boys. So I always thought I was a boy because it was like, Mark, John, Joe, Katie, sit down, stop talking. So I was always really interactive, and I'm one of 9 children. So I was used to that like a lot of goings on. And then I got shipped off to private high school because, I had, it was hard for me to focus. And I was sent to an all girls performing arts school, and I found theater. And I realized like all theater is like to get an A was to respond and listen and be present to the person in front of you. And you get an A. And I was like, whoa, it's how I live my life. I live my life in other people's stories. I'm fascinated by people. And honestly, I am gifted with the ability to remember and hold hundreds, if not thousands of people's dreams, because the truth is I never forget people's stories. It's crazy what I remember. I love it.
That's awesome. So you're coaching a lot of different individuals today, doing some amazing work. I've got a show around gratitude. I'd be curious from your perspective, the role gratitude plays in some of the work that you're doing with the clients that you serve.
Oh my gosh. Well, isn't it the foundation of all things? And what a journey to get there. What a journey inward. And I suppose that that's why I'm so committed to personal development work, because it is the bridge to transformation. And I would never be or have survived through the tragedies that I've gone through in my life without that deep sense of knowing that, hey, everything's going to be okay, and grateful for the days that I get to play with people. And my motto is go deep and bring the joy. I'm interested in having profound conversations and transforming with people, but it's always with the underlying desire to bring joy and light to dark places. Because, I bring what I need, and I need more joy. I need more light. And it's a manifestation. By bringing it, you become it.
That is beautiful. Go deep and bring joy. I love it. That's awesome. So, you touched on just briefly, I mean, you brought it up, just some difficult times that you faced in 2017. You faced an enormous challenge in your life. You lost your son. God rest his soul, and he's now in his eternal place. And you've dedicated your most recent book to him. Love to hear a little bit about maybe that time, and what motivated you to ultimately write a book in his honor?
Well, it's funny. I remember like one counselor that I talked to, actually, I think it was my coach after Will passed, and his friends describe it this way. And this is the grace of the new generation, which is he described Will as ascending on his own accord. Like that we have personal power and the personal will. I mean, his name was Will, to live our lives the way we choose. And I think that Will was a fierce, gritty, deeply spiritual, joy filled human. And we never know how long people are going to live. We expect obviously to have our children live longer than we do. But this is a direct correlation, interestingly enough, Matt, that in 1987, my brother Matthew was murdered, and my brother Matthew was 22, and my mom was 54, and Will was 22, and I was 54. So it's the journey that we come through in life. And how I saw it was I was going to do it very differently than my mother. I was going to do it very different than generations before. And I was going to transform through grief. I wasn't going to let grief take me, because that would be, in my honest opinion, a disingenuous way to honor my son, who was the light. He was light. And I know he would expect nothing less from me. Nothing less. That kid. He would and I think he chose me. Like I'm from a spiritual level. I think that these situations and souls and experiences move through us. And I think that I was honored. I would say that my deepest gratitude, if we speak really of this deeply, is that I feel as though I birthed an angelic person, a human soul. And at the highest level, I was able to release that soul as a mom, like what is more than that? So for a long time, Matt, I have to tell you, I was like, man, like what else do I've done the work. Like I've transformed through this experience. I've done it different. I've modeled it different. I've spoken of it different. I get it. And I was like, what else is there, right? And I literally felt like that. And I'm a super positive person, but I'm like, what is the meaning if really at the highest level, that is really what my biggest lesson is in this life? And then I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm here to help dudes. Like I'm here to help other men embrace their warrior, embrace that power that's in them in a society that does not honor the feeling man, the testosterone filled man, the man who is a protector and aggressor and all of these things that are actually qualities that are amazing about men. And how do we let and allow men to communicate from their heart and give them emotional vocabulary that resonates with them? That's not a woman's language, but it's the way men speak their truth. And it's powerful work. I love what I do. I coach men and women. Predominantly, I would say I coach high performance men, because I get them. It's just I get the vibe, and it's easy for me to step into that as an athlete. That's the thing, is like when I'm coaching men, I'm like, whoa, I'm working up a sweat, because you have to really come at them with that same kind of energy. I mean, I'm a woman, but I know how to play in that test. I'm very much a girl, but when you're having a conversation with a man, you have to stand into that. I think a lot of people are honestly afraid of that energy and stepping into men, into their fear zone, and still holding the truth in the light. It takes a lot for a man to trust, because they weren't taught that, how to trust.
Kate, that story about Will is just amazing. And it's amazing the perspective that you have on what uh, his life brought to you, and perspective on, and the correlation between your mother and your brother, and the timing of Will. That's just amazing. And thank you for sharing that. But it's remarkable. What I sense is how it kind of ignited you to do some of the work that you're doing today. And
Mm.
that must be really rewarding to think that Will has had that impact on the men and women that you're helping today.
Totally. Because if I can, the thing is that every guy I have a powerful conversation with, I know he's changing relationship with his children, his relationship with his wife, you know what I mean? If like he can have words to communicate what he needs. And really, I'm not talking really complicated stuff. I mean, this is like really deep and meaningful, but not complicated. And I think that there's been some convoluted, complicated languaging that we've put in this society. And I think that there are simple ways to have deeper conversations that are meaningful. It's just a powerful position for me that I'm playing, and I have a lot of fun. I just have a lot of fun. My day is filled with laughter all the time. I walk around by myself and I'm kind of like smiling to myself, going, I don't even know why I'm smiling, but I just am, because I live in that's what I love about your show. And I know you've been through challenges too. And it's just like we have to live in that space of gratitude. And gratitude's so deep. I think that people we have gratitude light in our society, just be in gratitude, just write your gratitude journal and all that. I'm like, no, we're talking about the deep gratitude that can bring you to your knees grateful, right? And it's not this light thing. It's really a deep experience for me. Anyway, it is. It's not a trite matter by any stretch.
Well, I put things in perspective. I mean, so my listeners know that I've got, I'm on this cancer journey, and the fact is, I'm almost 7 years out from the first time my right kidney was removed, and 3.5 years outside of where it when it metastasized. I'm alive today.
Mm.
I mean, if I can't find gratitude in that alone, I mean, something's wrong. I mean, I am grateful, and I do in my mind. I'd be curious to hear your perspective on this. On the show, my listeners have heard a lot about the four houses of health, and that's your mental health, physical health, emotional health, and spiritual health. But I'd love to hear your perspective on. I would think, and not knowing all the work that you do, but I would think that to be the warrior that you want to ignite in your clients, they have to have healthy mind. I would curious from your perspective, um, you know, how challenging it is for you to get your patients or your clients to think about doing mindful work in a world where that's not really totally I think from a female perspective, probably more acceptable than a male perspective. What challenges do you face in terms of getting people men in particular, to think about what goes into their mind?
Well, absolutely great question. I think for men and women, it's complicated for both of them because there is an offset. And I would have to bring up the example of if I'm coaching a man maybe in his 20s or 30s and a man in his 50s, 60s, 70s. If I said to the man in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and they're describing something, I'm like, wow, I'm sensing some emotion in that. Can you tell me about that? And they're like, what? Right? And I'm like, where are you feeling that in your body? Can you talk to me a little bit? Because if I can bring them in their body, and they'll be like, yeah, but if you ask a younger dude that, they'll be like, yeah, it makes me feel like I'm going to throw up. And they're way more in tune, the younger generation. So for me, it's bridging the gap of them trying to intellectualize and then me just going, I just noticed something going on, or you could see the welling of emotion. And they think that I can't see it, and they think they're, that they're immovable. They're not transparent. And if we pay attention and we ask the question, you will be shocked and amazed at how people will open up if you just sit and wait and hold safe space. So that's the work. The work is in being able to be observant and be present enough and hold space and don't rush. Just chill out and just allow that person to sit in that experience. Because when if I say to a client, hey, what's your take on that? How are you feeling about that? What do you need in that situation? They literally kind of double take it and they go Kate, are you really, is that really, am I able to speak that? And I'm like, oh no, I'm not kidding. I'm just curious. What would that look like for you if you were able to express that need, or, so it's even being open that this isn't a joke, that I'm actually curious. it's transformational. Curiosity is transformational. And I think people underestimate the power of presence. Showing up for people. What's the highest calling? I could easily speak in front of 5,000 people, move them, crying, laughing. Like, that's amazing. I was a theater major. I'm good at it. But my soulful work is this, Matt. It's like, what's more important than this? For me, nothing. Nothing. It's like, this is how humans connect. And the fact that we can have people tuning in to this level of intimacy, that's the magic. But I'm not even thinking about that, Matt. I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking about your story. I'm thinking about the way that you've had to suffer. And I'm thinking, obviously, a million questions I want to ask you. Like, what was that shift for you that you realized that I'm going to celebrate this journey, even through the pain, the suffering, the treatment, the fear, all of it. I'm still going to live in gratitude. That takes some grit, courage.
Well, along this, so I'll touch on that just a bit. So my listeners have heard, me celebrate Kidney Cancer Awareness Month the last two marches, and we've done solo shows around that the last couple years. And by the way, listeners that have supported kidney cancer the last couple of years, thank you. Deeply grateful for that. But I found gratitude, late at night. I found it, in late 2018, 2019, when I couldn't sleep at night because they told me that it came back. And I went to just look for, call it inspirational cancer stories. And there's a lot out there. By the way, you can go to YouTube and you can find a lot of inspirational stories around cancer. And what I found was every single cancer patient that I found, they were like really grateful. And these are all people that they're on the other side of the equation today. They're healthy today, and they now are grateful and remarkably grateful for the health that they had and what they learned through that experience. And dozens of them. And I just told myself at that point, I was like, wait a second, why would I wait? And I don't know how long this journey is going to take. Why wouldn't I start practicing gratitude? Why wouldn't I find how grateful I am like today? And, I get treated, everybody knows this, I get treated at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, 6.5 hours away from where I live. And I'm grateful that I can make that happen for my family. And, we've got we're on a very good path. My goal is to be disease free at some point. I'm not there today, but I'll tell you what, I keep telling myself in my mind, and in my mind, I really think we can get there. I can tell you emphatically, Kate, that I think let's put it this way, we're closer to that than my death. Okay. And I'm grateful for that. And, I'm in a spot today, call it 3.5 years after reoccurrence, 7 years after original diagnosis, that some men, women never get to. And thing that motivates me today, and this is pretty powerful. I've got a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old, and I've got to walk both of them down the aisle. Okay.
Right on.
And for those that will be there that day, like I'm trying to keep it together right now, just talking about it. Wow. That day is going to be, it's going to be electric. It'll happen. But so that's kind of how I found gratitude.
Let me just stop you for a second. All right. Amazing story. You took us through this amazing story and you brought everything there, and it was right there, right? Everyone felt it. I had goosebumps up and down my legs, right? And then it's like, so anyway, right? And this is a classic example of what men do, and I love it, and it's okay. People, audience, it's okay for men to communicate like that. It's perfect, right? You know, it doesn't have to be this big drawn out thing. Are you okay? It's like, that's the way, that's a beautiful story. So I just stopping you to thank you and to just express my appreciation and gratitude for the heart and the soul that you bring to this world. And in that moment that I was able to witness it and feel it. And I was there. I was walking down, you know, seeing your children walking down the aisle and seeing your expression. And anyone who's just listening to this, you're going to go back and watch this because it was worth it just to watch you. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if I guess yeah, no, I'll worry about that 15, 16, whatever years down the road. I don't know. Okay. I don't care if they get married at 40, 50, whatever. I'll be there. And I'll be there and I'll remember this conversation. And
Absolutely.
no, thank you.
Thank you.
So, you know, so I touched on this earlier. You have motivational Mondays. First off, listeners, follow Kate on Instagram. What can they expect from motivational Mondays?
I have so much fun doing those. But basically, it's like we take information in bite sizes. And I hear this from clients and friends all the time. It's like, Kate, can you just say that one more time? I want to hear that. Like, can you walk around and like speak in my ear? And half the time I'm just like listening to what people are saying and channeling oftentimes what they're saying back to them. And they think it's me, but I'm just a mirror of other people's brilliance. That's it. And so I just pick thematics and different, you know, words or themes or things that have come up with coaching clients, or part of the high performance coaching, which is, you know, having greater clarity, energy, courage, productivity, influence, and a deep sense of necessity. Those are the 6 high performing habits. So I'm an outcome based coach. So my job, my obligation is not just to inspire or motivate, even though it's called Motivational Monday, but to give you tools to transform. And there are tools to transform. I'm here to ignite people into their greatness and to heal those places that are preventing us from standing in the light fully for ourselves and for others. And so that's all those Motivational Mondays are. Little tidbits and little yum-yums that I'm committed to offer every Monday.
That's awesome. I've really enjoyed them. And, you know, one thing that you talk about, touched on it a couple times, is really being present to those you're with, and like we're together, even though we're not in the same room, we're virtually together. And I touch on this, and you'll hear me close the show with like the importance of that. And one of the reasons why I think it's so important, like I've seen you touch on everybody's unique and uniqueness. Like, I can't fully appreciate who Kate is if I'm not fully entirely present, and vice versa. You can't entirely experience who Matt Moran is without truly being present. So it's like, it's missed opportunity if we're not being present to those we're with. We're missing like God's real presence in how they made each of us unique. And it's, I just think it's really cool that you talk so much about being present.
And it's to people like, I go to an event, I mean, this is weird maybe, but if I'm in an event, like a fancy event or something, I'm usually with the people in the kitchen, and like, you know, I just find like I can have real conversation with everyone, but I always include everyone. It's just part of my human nature, you know, and God is in all things and God is in all people. And to not acknowledge the people that are serving is like, it's incomprehensible to not acknowledge and have connection with those people that are holding the room on that level. So for me, that's just a super important part. And it goes to all levels. I remember I was pitching a TV show, like the McKay Effect. And I remember my producer saying, Kate, can I tell you something? I'm like, yeah, sure. And he's like, you know, you're always the same. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, no, you're always the same. Like the camera's on, the camera's off. You're with the CEO. You're always the same. And I'm like, well, who the heck else would I be? You know? So for me, it sounds way more confusing to try to adapt and be all these other things. And I'm not saying that's easy. I'm not at all saying it's easy. It's not. I've stumbled. I have been judged. I have, you know, I'm a small person, but I have big energy. And it took me really realizing that to dishonor myself would be to dim myself. And the word enthusiasm, Matt, means in the divine, means I'm in God's energy if I'm acting enthusiastically. So who wouldn't want to act enthusiastically? And if someone's offended by my enthusiasm, that's clearly not my problem. Oh gosh. Yeah. That's all I have to say
100%.
about that.
There's nothing wrong with that. No, there's nothing wrong with that. You should be, no, that's something to be proud of. And so often people are afraid to like really express themselves in being consistent in the same. I think that's a good thing. It sounds like the producer was like almost criticizing that,
I
but
think
I think
I
it's
just
awesome.
think he thought it wasn't necessarily, it was like an aha moment for me that someone would think that that was so unique, which that is the only way that I knew, right? So just like when someone says something like that to you, you're like,
Yep.
oh, oh, so that's something unique about me, and that's actually something that I'm going to claim. And that's why, I titled my book my number one best-selling book, Claim Your Inner Badass, and then Claim Your Inner Warrior, is because we need to claim them. We need to claim our best self. We need to claim our personal power. We need to claim our sense of peace and gratitude. We need to claim it. No one's going to give it to you. It's not going to be handed to you. And, the reason why I use that word, and that's actually my son Will on the cover there, but and he was a warrior. Like, check him out. He's dropping off a rock up in Maine,
Yeah.
up at Bar Harbor. But he came to me in a
Wow.
dream, and it was just like the weirdest dream. And I was like, I'm gonna go talk to him. He's outside. I'm mad. I was like the mad mom, like pretending. So he was laying down in the grass and blue t-shirt. Remember it clear as bell. And I'm like, hey, Will, I just want to let you know I'm really mad at you. Like what you did, this, and he turned around at me and he was like this close to my face, Matt. And he goes, Mom, how could you be mad at me? I've been claimed. And I was like, I woke up from a dead sleep and I was freaked out, Matt. I was like, claim? Like, who says claim? And I'm like looking in the dictionary. What does claim mean? And then I typed in, I have been claimed. Ephesians, New Testament. I have been claimed by Holy Spirit. Like, how could you be mad at me? I'm good. Carry on, Mom. So that's why I titled the book like
Wow.
that, because honestly, this is the work here for us. You don't need to wait for someone's permission to claim the light that you are here to bring to the world. Time is of the essence. Your presence is needed, especially now.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So let me ask you this. So find your inner badass.
Claim it.
What, in your estimation, or claim your. So what do you think um, hurts people or prevents people from truly finding the badass that's within them, but they don't fully claim it because of some barrier? What
One word.
typically is that?
One word. You ready?
Yep.
Unworthiness. I am not worthy of being loved. I am not worthy of being successful. I am not worthy of being accepted for who I am. I am not worthy of the presence of God in my life. I am not worthy of financial abundance. Worthiness. I remember one time speaking in front of a group and I was like, repeat after me, people. I am worthy. I am worthy. I made them say it 5 times. Quiet. People were sobbing. Simply owning those words is the beginning. It's truly the beginning.
That is awesome. That is really cool. So Kate, as we kind of wrap up, I have a common question that I ask all of my guests, and I can't imagine what you had to go through in 2017 when Will went home to his eternal home. So obviously devastating, but you can certainly speak to that or maybe another hurdle in your life. But you've kind of already touched on how Will has ignited you, and probably almost to some degree grateful for the work that you're able to do as a result of the life that he lived. But love to hear maybe your perspective on challenges that you faced and what you learned through those challenges. And maybe even if you can talk about the gratitude that you might have for one that you experienced in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, I just want to say that we hear so much about post-traumatic stress and like, the place that we get when we experience tragedy. But the science shows there's such thing as post-traumatic transformation. We can choose to transform through great suffering, and it's a choice. And I chose, and I continue to choose to transform through loss and transform through grief because I believe that I'm a messenger of hope and love. And I'm not super attached to things, Matt. It's just a bizarre thing. It's like once you go through great tragedy, I'm not super attached. I'm not super attached to people, places, or things. And because I feel like my high work, my holy work in my vertical relationship with spirit is what drives me. So I'm really not that super attached to like crazy fighting. I don't talk about people. Like it's just not my vibe. So I think that if you claim and own your best self and live in that vertical relationship, be prepared for relationships around you to shift and be grateful for the people in your life that remain and be open to the people that are waiting for you on the horizon, because there are people waiting for you when you're standing in your greatness. They are waiting for exactly what you're here to bring. That is where faith comes into play. And I'm a living example of that. Weary, knees, shaking, teeth clattering, like it's scary, but it's faith over fear always. Faith over fear always. That's all I got to say about that. I hope that was helpful. But I'm just deeply grateful, let me just say, to be with you, Matt. I'm super, super appreciative of this time to play and have a deep conversation that we can also play in the joy. It's lovely. And I'm very grateful for this time. So thank you.
Oh my gosh, it's so great to connect. I really appreciate it, and hope they have the opportunity to stay connected. Listening audience, please go out and follow Kate. She's got some amazing work. She's got some workshops that are coming up that you can find on her Instagram page. A lot around stress management, and she, I think, can help you find the warrior that's within you. Kate, thanks so much for doing today's show. Listening audience, you've heard me talk in the past about 3 things that I do each and every day that help me keep the wheels on the track and live the thriving life that I'm living. First and foremost, find the courage to be grateful regardless of how powerful your storm is. Secondly, and Kate and I talked quite a bit about this, truly be present to those you're with. If you're present to them, you'd be amazed at the gifts that are right in front of you. And then lastly, pay attention to how you're feeding your mind, body, and your soul. You are what goes into your mind, body, and soul. Today's guest was Kate McKay. Kate, thanks so much for being on today's show. Listening audience, if you found today's show inspiring in some way, shape, or form, subscribe to the show, comment on it, and share it with others. With gratitude, Matt listeners, until next time, find the courage to be grateful. Godspeed, my friends.